Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly.
G'day Art Snackers, my name is James of James Luke Burke Creative and welcome officially from me to 2021. I hope you had a wonderful, happy new year and I'm really excited to get back into Box Freestyle today. If you don't know, this is the series where we dive into the ArtSnacks Plus box, we experiment with all the supplies in there to within an inch of their lives and hopefully, fingers crossed, create an absolute masterpiece for the hashtag ArtSnacks Challenge. So we're going to do that again today. We do it every month and I'm really excited to be sharing this with you again in 2021. In the interest of still getting to know each other, I wanted to let you know that after high school I had two things that I might want to be. One, I thought I might go and study business law because I really loved to argue, still do. And two, I thought I might become a fashion designer. I actually studied fashion design for a little bit. I studied fashion illustration. Well, I self-studied, but I consider that study. I even applied for fashion school and got accepted, but then went to go and dance. And I always thought I would go back to it. I kind of deferred it year after year after year and then never ended up going back to it. Unfortunately, it's probably just a little too cutthroat for me these days, but I still have a really big passion for fashion and it becomes a lot of the basis of what I do with my illustrative work. So let me know, what were you thinking you might be in high school, or what would you be doing now if you weren't doing what you're doing? Let's get into the ArtSnacks Plus box for January 2021 and see what we come up with.
Alrighty, here's the box for January. Let's have a look inside and unwrap that little green burrito. This is what we're going to be playing with today, so let's take a closer look. This is the Corinne Metallic Deco Brush Marker. My color was metallic red gold. We also have the Mavi Uchida Pastel Le Pen Flex. I got the color Wisteria. The Zebra M350 mechanical pencil with a 0.7mm lead. We have the Shinhan Touch Liners, a set of 5 in cool grey. And for the ArtSnacks Plus box, you also get the Kuretake-ZIG Fude pen, a black brush pen, and an exclusive Legion Bamboo paper pad in 9x12, and there are 15 sheets inside that as well. So, we also get every month the exclusive ArtSnacks sticker, which I sometimes leave out because it's really hard to say. Alright, let's have a look at what we can come up with for January 2021. Alrighty, so everything is unboxed, and since I've got a lot of these box freestyle videos up already, and you've seen a lot of this experimentation process play out, I thought I might actually just kind of give you a bit of a first impressions look at some of the supplies that I was using, and just give you my thoughts. Just please bear in mind that these thoughts are just particular to what I like to do with the supplies, and how I like to use them, and it's going to be pretty subjective whether this even matters to you or not. But I thought I'd just give a bit of a breakdown on some of the stuff, some of my thoughts, since I've used a lot of supplies at this point, and that is the beauty of being subscribed to ArtSnacks, is that you get to experiment with many, many different supplies and different brands. So I thought I'd just give a bit of a first impressions of the stuff that's in the box. So the Shinhan Touch Liners, I have to admit, I did think they weren't working when I first opened them, and that is because I thought, oh no, it's grey, like it's not working properly. I thought it was black. The barrel confused me because it was a black barrel, and I'm just really ridiculous and probably should have read that it was a cool grey. Once I compared it to the cool grey that it said it was, it actually worked very well, very effective, and I thought they were cute liners. I do like having different options for the tips with liners, because one way to add a really interesting illustrative style to some of the work you do, even if it's really, really simple, even caricature or cartoony work, is to change up the lines, even the style of the lines, the variation in the width of the lines. So if you've got a set of liners, just switching between those as you go to line your image will automatically give you a more interesting effect. So I really appreciate that there was a whole set in there, and once I realized they were supposed to be cool grey, I was very, very pleased with them. I thought these don't work as black, which they weren't meant to. So anyway, moving on from that, the Corinne Metallic Gold is very, very juicy, which is really nice. Sometimes I find it's a little hard to get a lot of ink to flow through or bleed through the barrels into those brush tips, but it was a really, really enjoyable experience to work with that as well, and it was very, It was a very nice color as well. I don't think on this paper it looked particularly metallic, but a lot of the times metallics work best, or especially ones like this that are very heavy and full opaque coverage, they look best on darker papers, and that's kind of where they really shine through. It's hard to get that metallic contrast against a white background, but you can kind of see there's a slight sheen to it. I probably should have tested it on a black paper, but I trust that you would do that if that's something that you wanted to do anyway. And the next thing that I used was the Zebra mechanical pencil. I used to not really enjoy mechanical pencils, and then for the past few years I've loved nothing but mechanical pencils, so it's been an interesting journey for me. And this one is nice because it's a 0.7mm. I typically use one that's 0.3 and sometimes, 0.3 to 0.5, and those can snap really easily. This 0.7 is a little bit more robust and nicer for people like me who are a bit more heavy-handed. Obviously you're going to get a slightly thicker line, but I did quite enjoy it. It was a nice mechanical pencil. I do like that. Zebra makes really wonderful supplies. The next thing I think I used was the Le Pen Flex, the wisteria color. That was a really beautiful color, and I was surprised at how flexible that nib was. I wasn't expecting that. Usually those hard-tipped, really small brush pens aren't super flexible, and I do encourage people who struggle to work with brush pens to choose pens like that, because typically the longer and the softer the brush pen, the more difficult it is to control. But this was a really interesting one because it was really small but also really flexible. So I think it was actually really interesting to use for some of those detail areas. Perhaps not in wisteria. I don't know what colors would be better for you, but I wouldn't typically detail anything in such a light purple. But it was a really nice pen, and I would consider getting more of those, especially because I work in journals that are actually quite small, like A6 size, A5 to A6. So having smaller supplies with finer detail capabilities is actually nice for me. The other thing I wanted to mention was that Kuretake Bimoji brush pen is really wonderful. I love the look of that with the lettering. Even just my regular chicken scratch handwriting looked really pretty in it. So it just goes to show, sometimes it's not you, sometimes it's the supply. And it can really do wonders for you. So I do really love that, and I'm really glad to have that. It does sometimes have that bit of dry brush effect, although it is kind of a hard-tipped brush pen. So it's not, I would never suspect a hard-tipped brush pen to have that kind of an effect. You want to go a little bit slower if you want a full solid line, but I do really like dry brush effects because especially when you're doing lots of fashion illustration, there's a real dynamic quality to having that broken ink line. So I think that worked really nicely, and just remember to give that a bit of time to dry though, otherwise some of your materials, your supplies will reactivate that ink. So maybe is something you want to use at the end of your project if you're using lots of water soluble mediums, or just water activated mediums, or even water based markers. I would suggest using that at the end. But it was really nice, and I think if you were someone who was confident with lettering and calligraphy, like I am not, you would probably really enjoy that pen. It's really pretty. And the paper itself, I shouldn't leave out. It had a really nice tooth to it. I did enjoy that paper. I didn't use a lot of water. I just did a quick little water test to test the bleed of some of those markers. I don't really know how it would hold up to a lot of water. I'm assuming it would be like a lot of the other papers we've tried recently, where there'd be some buckling and warping, and I don't think it would give you all of the watercolor effects that you might be looking for, but I do think you could use some wet mediums on there, and you could do some washes. I believe you could even still try your watercolors on there. I just don't know if the effects would work the same way, but I can't really mention that because I didn't test it for that. But it worked wonderful with everything that I used here, and it retained a lot of the detail of some of those really finer tipped mediums. So that was really nice. Usually when you're working with something with a bit of tooth to it, you know, that tooth, that kind of bumpy surface, it can sometimes be difficult to keep some details. So I thought that was good. Alrighty, so we're thumbnailing, and I decided to take the idea of bringing more of my art journaling into ArtSnacks Box Freestyle. Now, I don't know if many of you are familiar with art journaling. To put it very, very simply, it is art and it is journaling, much as the name implies. But more specifically to me, it's any kind of creative thought, any kind of piece of my imagination I want to put down onto paper. If I want to sit down and swatch out some new supplies, if I want to work on an idea, if I have a grocery list and I need a piece of paper, I will put it in one of my planners, one of my journals. They're just little books, little art books that I kind of keep everything in, and I like to describe them these days as imagination encyclopedias because they really have become a collection of anything and everything that kind of tumbles around in my brain. Some of it is fully finished work that I've spent hours on, and then other things are half-finished ideas that I spent 2 minutes on. And they all kind of live side by side in these kind of imagination encyclopedias. But before I worked in art journals, I would do what I'm doing now. I would kind of create a piece and put it in a folder, or display it, or put it in a box, and I've got tons and tons and tons of stuff that just I don't even know where it is anymore. It's in some box somewhere, but that is why I really loved art journaling specifically. I don't know if many people like to work in journals or on loose pieces of paper, but even now when I work on loose pieces of paper, I will stick them into my art journals because at the very least it does serve as a central place to go back to and kind of revisit rather than trying to find a box in a cupboard somewhere. So I thought this would be a good time to kind of bring some of that art journaling to Box Freestyle, since it is something that I do predominantly these days. And the one thing that I really, really enjoy more than anything about art journaling is how I can mix all of those things that I love about drawing and painting and creating with some of those really real kind of personal memories and experiences that I've had. I do like that intersection of kind of the creative and the documenting. And so what I decided to pull from was not only this kind of fashion illustration style that I mentioned at the start of the video, but also this idea of lashes, because I had I've got a whole history with lashes and how much I love false eyelashes. And if you've been around my channel for long enough, you'll know that I always say to always add lashes. I just like my drawings better when they have them. Even men, I'll give them a full set of lashes. It's just something I really love to draw. And a lot of what I do with art journaling is note down things that I enjoy or practice things that I enjoy and just enjoy the things that I enjoy with my art journals. So I thought I would capitalize on this and kind of bring some of that world here for you. If you've never seen art journaling before, if you've never seen how to mix some of your artistic flair with some of your real life experiences and memories, I thought I would kind of put that here. And it was also a good way to practice some of my lettering. You'll notice that I'm not a letterer. I don't write the letters, I draw the letters. I mean, I write them out, I get them spaced properly, but the real skill going on here is I'm just decorating each letter as if it was its own little art piece, like its own little illustration. So this is all just doodling and drawing and decorating. Don't even think of it as lettering if you're someone like me who's tried it and just finds it very, very difficult. You can illustrate your letters and it looks just as fantastic. So I'll tell you a bit of the backstory. Before I was working in mixed media art, I was a professional dancer and I worked on cruise ships and I worked in theme parks. And the fun thing about being a dancer is that you've got really huge costumes on, really bright, loud, colorful costumes. You've got these incredible lighting setups and it's super bright and it's just really exciting to be on stage. You're kind of far away from people, so all of that to say, sometimes it's really hard to read facial expressions from the audience. And so for women particularly, they would put their eye makeup on, but they'd also have these massive false eyelashes. And I'm talking bigger than you've ever seen, like tarantulas on your eyes. And they are just fabulous. And I've always loved them. I don't know why. I've always been very attracted to these false lashes. And And so it just became a bit of a saying backstage whenever we'd be, at the theatre, always add lashes. And yeah, I mean, if you're someone that's worn them, you'll probably know that they're not the most comfortable thing in the world, but they are pretty fantastic. So always add lashes has kind of been a bit of a statement in my world. But then we also had this other kind of saying that was full out with lashes, which kind of meant, when we're in rehearsals, you could either mark something, which means you did it at kind of 50% or 60%, and you were just kind of going through the motions of whatever the dance was. But if you were going to go full out with lashes, it means performance time, like performance quality. Do it as if you've got your eyelashes on and you're going to be out on stage doing it for everyone. So full out with lashes basically just means do it with everything you've got. And so this kind of quote is a bit of a throwback to, not even just those fun memories that I have, but even to like a separate point in my life now. It's been 5 years since I was a professional dancer, working as a professional dancer. And so this is a memory for me at this point. And this is also a way that I get to kind of dive into that, even capture some of that. This is documenting, what I love most about the art journals is when I flip through and I see a page like this, it brings back all those memories. It stimulates that, the thought, the humor. A lot of it is funny. I like to document things that are funny just because I like to laugh a lot. But this is what I really love about art journaling, and I think if you haven't tried it before, I think you should probably give it a go in 2021. I'm not going to make sure you do. I'm not going to come and police it. I'm not going to check on you. But if you've never tried to mix some of the fantastic skill that I see in the community that you have artistically, if you've never tried to mix that with some of your own personal story and even the words, and I was here to show you today that you don't have to be a brush letterer or a calligrapher to make some fabulous letters. I know you've all got the skills to decorate some of your handwriting. It is a really fantastic intersection of even more of what makes you you, and I really enjoy it. So there it is, full out with lashes. I'll see you in a second.
And there we go, we're all finished. I hope you enjoyed watching that. I quite enjoyed this piece. I might frame it and put it in my house and let it serve as my mantra for 2021 to always just go full out with lashes. Now, if you haven't subscribed and you would like to subscribe to ArtSnacks, you can use the code JAMES10 at checkout for 10% off. And also, if you're participating in the hashtag ArtSnacks Challenge, don't forget to share your work with us on social media and in the Mix community. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, I hope you had a wonderful new year and really enjoying the start of a fresh new 2021. I'll see you again next month. Bye.